Okay, good day everyone. Before anything else, I would like to introduce myself first. I am Kay Purificacion and the topic that I will be going to discuss to you today is about biography, as you can see. So here I am going to present to you the definition of biography, of course. Second is the characteristics of good biography. Third is the difference between juvenile and adult biography. Fourth is the types of biographies for children, and next is the values of biography, and last but not the least, the use of biographical materials in a school or classroom. And later on, we will also have an example of biography in the last part of this presentation. So now, let's find out what is a biography. I know you are all familiar with this word, but first, based on my research, the word biography is made up of Greek words bios, meaning life, and graphos, which means writing. So, biography literally means the writing of a life. Biography is a story of a life of a real person written by someone else. As a brand of literature, it artistically records the actions and recreates the personality of an individual's life that has actually lived. So, the biographer or the writer of an account of a person's life is concerned with truth. It is a form of history which is applied not to races or masses but to an individual. So, in other words, a biography is a form of literature which is nonfiction. So, nonfiction meaning it is based only on facts or real events, walang halong biro or walang unrealistic information. Unlike sa mga fictional na mga literary works na alam natin, which is galing lang sa imagination or purely imagination like fantasies, ganon. But here, sa biography, although it is written by someone else, the author addresses the real life story of a particular subject, and obviously, it is written in the third person. So, kinukwento lang ng author yung buhay ng ibang tao. For example, ako yung author or biographer and gusto kong ikwento yung buhay ni Ma'am Sheila. Of course, magbe-base lang ako sa buhay ni Ma'am. Magfo-focus lang ako sa kanya and i-represent ko lang kung ano yung real life story ni Ma'am. And for instance, gusto kong ikwento yung mga triumphs, failures, and achievements niya in her life. And as a biographer, hindi ako gagawa ng kwento na hindi naman totoo or hindi nangyari sa buhay ni Ma'am. Sabi ko nga kanina, it is a non-fiction, meaning based lang sa mga real events. So the earliest use of the word biography is attributed to Damascus, a Greek writer of the 6th century. Plutarch wrote about the lives of 46 Greeks and Romans to show that people were either all good or all bad, wise or foolish. And in 1683, Dryden used the word biography to describe the literary work of Plutarch, and he described it as the history of particular men's lives. 19th century biography as a whole was of the type which made the person written about seem unbelievably good. It was this method of writing biography that became very popular in the United States. So, napaka-famous or popular daw ng biography, especially sa United States as mentioned. Some biographers developed a new way of writing and treating men's lives. They brought out the human story, human climax as if they were writing a novel. So some of the biographers daw is parang nagsusulat lang ng novel. So alam naman natin na ang novel is napakahaba, di ba? And may mga climax din. So, yung mga biographers, nagsusulat sila ng buhay ng ibang tao with a human climax. It was only recently that biographies written particularly for children have been written. The personal narrative found in biography has its place in the literary experiences of children as truly as does any other story form. So dito na nagkaroon ng biographies which is written for children. Since yung tinutukoy is mga bata, of course hindi mawawala yung mga biographies na align sa mga age nila, yung mga related sa kung ano yung mga nai-experience ng mga children, yung mga nakaka-relate sila, ganon. In a complete biography, it is necessary to include all the principal happenings from infancy to the present or the time of the subject's death. So, dapat sa biography for children is kailangan or necessarily naka-include doon yung happenings from infancy up to the present or to a subject's death. So now let's move on to the characteristics of good biography. A good biography must be very well researched. Its interest is restricted to only one person, his activities, personal qualities, and achievements. It records life that has been actually lived. It must be based on documented facts. So just like what I have explained a while back, of course, kailangan na well-researched ang isang biography. And not necessarily na isa-search mo sa internet, hindi ganon. Meaning to say, dapat may basis ka. Like for example, pwede mong interviewin yung isang tao about sa buhay niya, and if patay na yung tao, for example, dun ka na pwede mag-search, or it's up to you on how you gather information about that person. So dito, hindi ka lang basta-basta maglalagay ng mga kung ano-ano na hindi naman related sa buhay ng isang tao. Or wag kang maglalagay ng mga information na hindi naman totoo, or hindi naman nangyari. And sabi dito, a biography is only restricted to only one person. So kailangan na iisa lang na character or subject yung nasa biography, hindi yung kunyari ikukwento mo yung buhay ni Jose Rizal, and then magsishift ka na naman ulit sa buhay ng ibang character. So, hindi na yun appropriate and hindi na yun matatawag na biography. So, kailangang nakafocus ka lang sa isang tao. Gaya na lang ng kapag nagmahal ka, dapat sa iisang tao lang. Ems. So, it records life that has been actually lived, and it must be based on documented facts. So, kailangan na yung mga ina-address mo sa buhay ng isang tao is nangyari na or naisabuhay na. Parang nire-recreate mo lang in words yung mga pangyayari or yung life story ng isang tao. And gaya na din ng sinabi ko kanina, always remember na it must be based on facts. So now let's proceed to the differences between juvenile and adult biography. So at first, I'm not really sure if ano nga ba yung juvenile. But I think juvenile is about young children. Kasi when I search juvenile, it means it is relating to a young person who is not yet old enough to be considered an adult. So, ang pagkakaiba nila is, obviously, yung juvenile is about young children, while sa adult biography, from the word adult, so it means mga older ones. Biographies for children are not usually documented. These biographies may not be complete accounts if the person's life includes objectionable incidents or tragedies. So when we say objectionable incidents kasi, meaning to say, ito yung mga unpleasant or offensive na mga pangyayari, and it is not highly encouraged kasi we are talking about biographies for children. Hindi na yun align sa age ng mga bata. Biographers for the young usually feel that it is the life of a person and to interpret the thoughts of their character. So, ine-express nung biographer yung thoughts nung specific person or character in order for the children to understand it better. So there are two types of biographies for children. So these are the fictionalized biography and the second one is the biographical fiction. So napapansin nyo sa structure ng mga words, parang nabaliktad lang. Kung ma-observe nyo, yung fictionalized biography, parang binaliktad lang sa biographical fiction. But ano nga ba yung pagkakaiba nila? So, fictionalized biography in which the facts are documented. So, a person's life story based partly on facts and enhanced by the author's imagination. So, parang sinasabi dito na yung fictionalized biography is nagbe-base sa mga real events or facts about the life of a certain person pero ine-enhance din ng mga author with the use of his or her imagination. So, nagbe-base pa rin sa mga facts pero sabi ko nga, ine-enhance ng biographer. A fictionalized biography is a creative account inspired by the events of a person's life. The fictional style is most often used in contemporary biographies such as the accounts of celebrities, athletes, and politicians who are still alive. Since we are talking about children, in fictionalized biography, dapat naaalin pa rin sa level of thinking or age ng mga bata. Sabi nga dito, no, ine-enhance ng author yung biography with the use of her or his imagination para mas makarelate yung mga bata. So next is the biographical fiction. Biographical fiction in which a historical character is the basis for a story that is semi-historical in nature. So biographical fiction is a type of historical fiction that takes a historical individual and recreates elements of his or her life, while telling a fictional narrative, usually in the genres of film or the novel. When we say historical fiction, it is a literary genre in which the plot takes place in a setting related to the past events but is fictional. So ang main point dito is about historical fiction, history. So the relationship between the biographical and the fictional may vary within different pieces of biographical fiction. It frequently includes selective information and self-censoring of the past. The characters are often real people or based on real people, but the need for truthful representation is less strict than in biography. So, di ba sabi ko kanina, biography sticks to the facts. An author is not speculating anything that is not known. Hindi siya nagpresent ng mga bagay na hindi naman real or hindi naman nangyari sa buhay ng isang tao. But, in biographical fiction, the author uses the facts of a person's life to tell a story, of course, like yung mga usual biography. Pero dito, sa biographical fiction, details can be reimagined, dialogue is created, and sometimes minor fictional characters are inserted in. Hindi siya totally accurate, pero nandun pa rin yung parang main ideas na nagbe-base sa history of someone's life. Next, we shall move forward to the values of biography. So, the first one here is for recreation. Biography is well suited for free reading because it provides vicarious experiences for the reader. So, pag sinabi nating recreation, It is an activity that we find enjoyment, pleasure, or relaxation. So maybe some people are not fond on reading any literary pieces, especially when it comes to biography, or maybe some are not interested. But for some other people, binibigyan nila ng value yung pagbabasa ng biography and they use it as a recreational activity. Siyempre, nowadays naman, accessible naman na yung mga biographies written by different authors by searching only on the internet, or you can also access it through books if meron. So, this is one of the ideas na pwede nating gawin or pwede nating i-explore yung magbasa ng mga biographies and make it as our recreational activity. So the second one is for information. Biography contains some factual material. Biography provides the human interest story for all forms of knowledge. So gaya nga nung sabi ko, marami ka talagang mapupulot na aral since biography is based on facts. We can learn valuable information about other people's lives. So, matututo tayo through reading and understanding the life of other people, and yung mga mapupulot nating aral is pwede nating i-apply sa buhay natin. Or pwede din nating i-apply sa pag-aaral natin. Next is for inspiration. Biography inspires youth to have faith in himself and gives him a determination to make the most of his life. It gives them courage to aspire and attain. It enriches moral character through the indirect lessons learned by the reading of the lives of great men and women. Just like sa mga short stories na binabasa natin, we can also get lesson sa mga biographies, especially if like for example, yung biography is about the failures and success of a specific person. Yung napagdaanan niya sa buhay, mga ganong bagay is of course, we will be inspired and maiimpluwensyahan tayo na mag-pursue and to not give up on life. Sabi dito, it enriches our moral characters. So, syempre kapag nagbasa ka and inintindi at isinapuso mo yung kwento, then there will be a realization or may marirealize ka. And it will change you not just for the sake of change, but it will change you for the better. Maybe may mababago sa perspective mo sa buhay na kailangan pala ganito, ganyan. So, biography plays a big role to our lives and it can help us grow as a person. Last but not the least is for vocational guidance. The choosing of vocation wisely can be influenced by reading about the lives of those men and women who have succeeded in their chosen life or professions. So, kunyari, nakapagbasa ka ng life of a specific person, which is yung profession niya, sabihin na lang natin na being a teacher. So, after you read it, parang it can either motivate you to become a teacher or gusto mong maging successful kagaya niya, or it can influence you to choose what you really want to achieve, especially in terms of having career. So, isa daw yon sa mga factors na nakakapag-impluensya sa atin in our chosen career or profession. So, parang related na din sa isang value ng biography, which is for inspiration. So, mai-inspire ka sa story niya and then mapapaisip ka kung ano nga ba talaga yung career na gusto mong ma-achieve or how to be successful despite sa mga paghihirap na nararanasan natin. So again, the values of biography are for recreation, for inspiration, for information, and for vocational guidance. So now let's proceed to the use of biographical materials in school or in classroom. How a teacher will make use of biography will depend upon her breadth of interest and resourcefulness. To widen the horizons of her pupils through well directed self activity is the essence of the art of teaching. So sabi nga nila, di ba, teaching is an art. There is artistry in the way teachers connect with students and foster their understanding. So, nakadepende pa rin sa teacher kung paano niya gagamitin yung biography, especially in teaching pupils or yung mga bata, and nakadepende din sa interest and resourcefulness niya as a teacher. So, as a teacher, dapat naging creative ka and hindi mo lang iisipin yung mga interest mo. Don't be so focused on yourself or don't be self-centered. Of course, you are a teacher. It is your responsibility not just to teach only but to teach effectively. Isipin mo din yung mga interest ng mga bata or mga activities na makakatulong sa kanila to learn and para ma-enhance yung kanilang knowledge or skills with the use of biography. Biography can be used as background materials in all subjects. Biography can contribute to the enrichment of classroom materials and the techniques of teaching. It can be used for oral reports, written reports, dramatization, and reference, and in correlation with other subjects. So marami kang pwedeng paggamitan ng biography in terms of classroom materials and your teaching. Sabi dito, pwede mo siyang gamitin to oral reports, written reports, dramatization, and reference, and sa iba pang subjects na pwedeng makatulong sa mga bata and to inspire them to study well. So here we have an example of a short biography, and it is about Louise Braille. I am not sure if ganon yung pagkaka-pronounce, but anyway, let me read to you the biography. So, Louis Braille lay on his bed in a small, damp room trying to fight back the tears that flooded his sightless eyes. He remembered the gentle, loving hand of his mother and the strong, guiding hand of his father. He felt so lonesome and frightened. His parents were far away in the little French village where he was born. He had been sent to a school in the big city of Paris where other boys were also blind like him. He had to learn to find his way around the city with its crowded streets. Then came a knock on his door. A boy opened the door and said, "I live in the next room. Let's go down and have breakfast together." Louis reached for his cane at the foot of the bed. He immediately got out of bed when he heard the friendly voice. He stretched his hand, and almost at the same time, Charles stretched his hand forward too, as a sign of greeting. Their fingers touched, and they both laughed. "Let me have your hand," Charles said. Louis stretched out his hand to Charles. Charles held Louis' hand to his face. "This is my face. It is round. I have curly hair. I have a mole here. Can you feel it?" "Yes," said Louis. "I feel it. I have never felt a mole before." In the afternoon, Charles invited Louis to go for a walk with him. He had lived in the city long enough to know his way around easily. He knows many buildings. As they walked slowly and cautiously, Charles told about the places they were passing, but Louis felt more frightened and lonely than when he was back in his little room at the school. He remembered the frightful stories he had heard about life in the city. "Can you smell something in the air? We are passing a bakery," Charles said. They sell wonderful cakes with some frosting. You must ask your father to buy some when he comes to visit you. I have some money right now, Louise replied. Let us go and buy some of these cakes. The shop was full of delicious smells. We would like some of the little cakes with sugared frosting, Louise told the lady who owned the shop. Which ones, the pink or blue? The shop owner asked. Both remained silent for a moment. Then Louise asked, do they taste different? No, they taste the same. It is the color that is different, she replied. It doesn't matter then, Louise said. You can give us the pink ones or the blue ones. Louise gave the woman a handful of coins as she handed him the bag of cakes. Here is your change, the lady said. They went out of the shop feeling pleased with their adventure. They decided to go back to their school. Suddenly, they heard the laughing and taunting of many boys behind them. So that would be the end of this lesson. Thank you for listening and I hope you learned something from my report. Have a great day mga ka-edu.